What about you? You're very welcome. Thank you for coming along. Special thanks to my little band of Patreon subscribers who keep this all going. God bless you, one and all. May great things happen to you and your families. Now. The 20th of March, seemingly, was World Kindness Day. They've got a day for everything now, haven't they? Kick your dog day. Doesn't matter what, there's a day for something, and a ginger day. There's a day for everything. I swear to God, it's amazing. Anyway, a Belfast journalist, well, he decided to do an experiment to test just how kind the people of Belfast are. And this is the experiment he did.
Today is World Happiness Day and also sees the publication of the World Happiness Report, which this year says that places where people think strangers are generally kind, the sort of people who would return a lost wallet, well, those places tend to be happier than places where they don't believe in the kindness of strangers.
So I'm deliberately mislaying 10 wallets across Belfast, each with a note asking to call my number if found. So how many of our 10 wallets do you think will prompt a phone call? Are you more pessimistic than you need to be about the kindness of strangers? The academic guru of lost wallets says most people are, and that seriously damages community well-being.
So you drop wallets, see how many are returned. Then you compare it to what people think is the case, and it turns out wallets are returned twice as often as people think, or more. And if we could make them believe that it really was all the time, they'd be much happier.
Where did you find it?
Wallet finders across Belfast have started calling me.
Well, you're very kind. Why did you return it? You could have just taken the money.
Because that would have been nice to do, so we just decided to phone you.
Just an honest person. It could be me, lost my wallet, or any of my kids or anything. It's nice to be nice.
Very kind of you.
I'm only glad you're here to receive your wallet back again.
So I dropped 10 wallets on the streets of Belfast. So how many do you think were offered back to me by kind strangers? Well, the answer is all 10.
Now, you know me, so you will not be surprised if I take a somewhat more cynical and realistic view of this heartwarming tale. For a start, I would point out that the wallets were dropped in central Belfast, which is covered with more security cameras than the walls around the White House. I'd suggest if some of those wallets had been dropped where I grew up, then the outcome would have been slightly different. Now, admittedly, there would have been a phone call from whoever found the wallet to the journalist, inquiring as to where they lived so the wallet could be returned in person. Having given his address to this kind person, he would have subsequently found that his home had been burgled and his car stolen. And I'm not a complete cynic. There are some decent people. But again, I'd ask this other question. How many would have returned the wallets if they'd contained not £10, but £1,000? Do you get my chain of thought here? Wee bit of realism here. Now, in conclusion, my advice to you all would be continue to believe in fairies and angels and the kindness of strangers. By all means, continue to believe in all those things, but keep an eye on your valuables at the same time. I'm telling you, keep an eye on your wallet and your watch and your handbag. Just keep an eye on them. The ceasefire in Gaza, short as it was, has come to an end. Something has been predicted by most informed observers. It was ended by Netanyahu, the Israeli leader, and his Israeli Defense Force, or the IDF, who I will forever in future be describing as the IGF, or Israeli Genocidal Force, because there's no defense involved in the murderous rampage they're carrying out in Gaza. Hundreds more innocent Gazan men, women and children have been sacrificed on the altar of Netanyahu staying in power and therefore staying out of jail. His claims that his actions are predicated in forcing Hamas into releasing the remaining Israeli hostages. Well, he knows that's bullshit. The opposite will be the case. His actions will have predicated in all likelihood the condemnation of most, if not all, of those hostages to death, either at the hands of the homicidal thugs of Hamas or the genocidal actions of his own armed forces. Yet, both the USA and UK continue to arm and defend the indefensible. But history, if there is any history in the future, will view the legacy of both Trump and Starmer through the lens of their actions in sustaining this slaughter. Sadly, the behaviour of the BBC, anti-Beeb, has been equally despicable, as they support rather than question the actions of their political leaders. This has led to one BBC journalist, Charisma Patel, leaving the organisation, explaining her decision to do so, saying this.
So I essentially quit the BBC over its unwillingness to follow the evidence coming out of Gaza. That, at its heart, was my problem. Now, I'm a journalist. My job is to follow the evidence to its conclusions, to its robust conclusions. And, you know, it doesn't matter to me who that angers. And I was very quickly coming to those robust conclusions. You know, Israel was committing war crimes against humanity, targeting civilians, including children, including doctors, teachers. And I could see that in front of my eyes. This speaks to a kind of newsroom culture, or a culture across the BBC, in which there's an unwillingness to touch stories where Israel looks bad, where it's very clear that Israel has committed a war crime or a crime against humanity. But there is also racism at the heart of this. Certain lives are treated as if they matter more. And I think there's a whole broader conversation to be had around how the media actually schools audiences to empathize with certain groups, and to care far less about other groups. You know, empathetic coverage. And this is one of the things I sort of want to empower the public with, because I think people recognize when they're seeing dehumanizing coverage that they don't quite know which mechanisms are at work. But coverage that is schooling the audience to empathize will involve photos, individual names, interviews with family members. You know, we may even see someone's childhood bedroom. We'll get a sense of their dreams, who they were as a person if they've been killed. And press conferences as well, you know, parents crying over podiums. These are all methods of teaching people to care. Now that entire suite of methods was actually just reserved for Israelis for months and months and months after October 2023. Now that's teaching the public a very specific lesson. And it's saying Israeli grief is exceptional, and it justifies an exceptional extrajudicial response. And that is what we have been seeing.
Personally, I've long since stopped watching BBC coverage of the Gazan genocide, deciding instead to rely on a much more impartial news outlet, namely Al Jazeera News, which gives a far more balanced reporting of the unfolding tragedy. Just when I thought Donald Trump had found rock bottom, he surprised even me and discovered a trapdoor in the shape of disgraced UFC fighter Conor McGregor. He literally threw the doors of the White House open for this muppet.
Happy Paddy's Day, America!
I did this wee cartoon to commemorate the historic meeting of the two individuals. Now, for those who don't know its meaning, McGregor lost a civil case and was forced to pay a woman he sexually attacked £206,000, while Trump paid porn star Stormy Daniels £100,000 to silence her ahead after their sexual encounter ahead of his first run for president. Now, when interviewed in the White House, McGregor decided to adopt Trump's playbook and blamed all of Ireland's problems on, would you believe it? Immigration. Sound familiar?
I'm here to raise the issues that people of Ireland face, you know, and it'll be music to the people of Ireland's ears, because never on the main stage has the issues the people of Ireland face been spoke. You know, our government has long since abandoned the voices of the people of Ireland. And it's high time that America is made aware of what is going on in Ireland. What is going on in Ireland is a travesty. Our government is the government of zero action with zero accountability. You know, our money is being spent on overseas issues that has nothing to do with the Irish people. The illegal immigration racket is running ravage on the country. There are rural towns in Ireland that have been overrun in one swoop, that have become a minority in one swoop. So issues need to be addressed, and the 40 million Irish Americans, as I said, need to hear this, because if not, there will be no place to come home and visit. You know, Ireland is...
McGregor has subsequently announced his intention to run for the presidency of Ireland with the slogan, wait for this is genius, this is so original, "Make Ireland great again." Please, please. Irish musician and comic Garron Moone made a video addressing McGregor in the White House and the issues around immigration in Ireland. Now, Garron started off his little video by highlighting the problems and even trying to address such complex issues.
So Conor McGregor was in the White House the other day. I have been inundated with messages to talk about this. Now, I get asked for my opinion on these kind of serious topics all the time. I don't know why the fuck people care, because I just shouted cups of tea on the internet. Now, the reason that I prefer not to make videos about this sort of shit is because I don't think it's fucking useful. The entire story of the world is being told in poorly researched headlines and 40-second fucking TikTok clips, and it is making people fucking nuts. For me to talk about this in a way that's even approaching being useful, I need to spend 25 minutes talking about Conor McGregor the person. I need to spend 40 minutes talking about immigration in Ireland. I need to spend 40 minutes talking about the fucking economy in Ireland. I need to spend an hour and a half talking about our fucking government. Now, my opinion...
Having said that, Garron then went on to do just what he'd said couldn't be done, and made some comments about the whole issue of McGregor and immigration in Ireland.
Now, my opinion on Conor McGregor is irrelevant, but I don't think he's a good person. I don't think it's particularly hard to find evidence of that. But it doesn't surprise me in the least to see a lot of people agreeing with what he was saying. There absolutely is an immigration issue in Ireland. That doesn't mean that people feel like we shouldn't take the refugees that we're able to take. It doesn't mean that people feel like people shouldn't be able to come here for better opportunities. But the systems that we have in place are being taken advantage of. And that is plain to see. And the government continually does not allow people to express their concerns about that. Along with this, Ireland continues to become one of the richest countries in the world, while most people's quality of life is going down. Our towns, and especially our cities, are becoming much less safe. Now, that's not just because of immigration. There's a lot of factors to that. But if you can't see that that's happening, then you have not left your house. Communities all over Ireland are concerned, and their concerns are continuously not being heard. And when you continuously suppress what people are feeling, you turn them towards more extreme beliefs, you increase their distrust in the government, and you push people towards racism and extremism. Now, no doubt, a lot of people in the comments are going to completely misconstrue what I've said here, but that's the internet for you. Anyway, stay delicious.
Now, I find absolutely nothing wrong with what Garron just said. Indeed, I think it was a measured and intelligent response to the reality of Irish politics, particularly around the issue of immigration. One thing he didn't mention, we always talk about immigration. Nobody talks about migration in Ireland. Ireland is bleeding out thousands upon thousands of young people because the cost of living in Ireland is crippling and they cannot even get 1 foot on the housing ladder. But such was the outcry online from the venomous bottom feeders that about his comments that Garron subsequently closed all his online social media accounts. This is tragic considering he's one of the most loved and followed online comics in Ireland. Once again, the keyboard warriors have succeeded in silencing someone who they deem unacceptable or who has said something they do not agree with. Even though Garron specifically highlighted that he in no way supported the actions or beliefs of the likes of McGregor. I would argue that those of us who occasionally go against whatever is perceived to be accepted norms need to develop much stiffer backbones. Now, I appreciate how impactful it must have been for Garron to face the hate which came his way after he made those comments, especially as up until now, he's only experienced positivity for his online content. But we cannot allow social media bottom feeders to silence rational debate and discussion. Over the years, I have had torrents of abuse from both unionists and nationalists. And my response has always been, so what? So what? I simply block or mute and carry on. For while I accept that everyone has the right to their opinion and the right to say what they want, I have the right to say, fuck right off, if I find what you say offensive or abusive. Oh, by the way, if you have found that offensive or abusive, then please just follow what I do and block or mute me. And get back to living your best life as a 20-something male sitting in your childhood bedroom in your parents' house, incapable of holding down an adult relationship and venting that frustration online. But remember here, I still love ye, but I would not want to be ye. Last Friday there, I was peacefully walking through the centre of Belfast when I had a sudden flashback. I thought it was the bad old days as a small flotilla of helicopters passed overhead. For along with the citizens of Vietnam, for those of my generation, the sound of helicopters was the ambient soundtrack for most of our lives. So constant was their presence that in the end, you didn't even notice them. I did notice them on Friday, however, and eventually found out that they harboured the arrival of the King and Queen, Charles and Camilla, who were visiting our shores. The evening news showed them visiting the last remaining picturesque part of Belfast, namely the Cathedral Quarter. Now, they played all the expected Paddy caricatures by blagging an oil-free whiskey. And of course, visiting the Duke of York bar on one of Belfast's last remaining cobbled stone streets. Almost there. One of Belfast's last cobbled stone streets. You'd think I'd be having whiskey here, wouldn't you? You would think I would. No, it's just age. Now, I was heartened to see that one local wit had added this caption to that pic. The nearest he's been to the Duke of York since the Epstein story broke. Isn't that brilliant? Fair play to you, son. I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are. I doff my cap to you. Cracker. Loved it. Now, I also noticed in the pictures, by the way, that it seemed to be that the area around the royal couple had been hermetically sealed off completely. There was no chances to have any local people close by. Now, one exception, of course, was the appearance of a shanty band. I'm serious. A shanty band. Somebody explain to me what the fuck a shanty band has to do with here. What's it got to do with here? That's what. Somebody explain that to me, please. Now, all I can work out is I'm presuming that they were afraid to have traditional musicians, as maybe the traditional musicians would have got carried away, and at the end of the song ended with ooh, up the rat. That would have been embarrassing. I can understand. Maybe I can understand why they went with a shanty band. Now, the royal visit continued in Republican heartlands such as Coleraine and Limavady, where selected washed members of the public were allowed to approach the visiting dignitaries. In conclusion, I will confound many by yet again saying I've quite a soft spot for old Charlie. I do like old Charlie. I think Charlie's sound. He's sound. I'm not a monarchist. I'm not. But I would argue if you have to have one, which the English seem to want one, then he's probably as good as you'll get. Don't mind Charlie at all. I'll end with the story of another king, namely Sham, the King of Killarney. Now, they did an interview way back, was St. Patrick's Day years ago, right? They did this interview, and it made Sham an international star because they thought and decided that they had found the Irishman with the most insanely indecipherable accent. Will you hear this?
And we're here in Killarney because we've been invited by a very special character. I hear he's a local legend, and his name is Sham.
Sham, look at that.
Sham, how are you?
Good, my dear.
We're here in Killarney today.
Nice to meet you.
Are you from Killarney?
I'm on 5 miles away.
Born and bred.
Born and bred in Killarney.
And come here, Sham, we're trying to figure out what makes Killarney so special. What do you think makes it a great town?
All right, kid. Definitely more in Killarney. All the tourists will more of that. Not holiday the door.
Yeah, lots of tourists around.
The tourists don't Killarney.
It's great, isn't it?
Great, give me a talk away.
And what's your favourite thing?
Hey, Sham loves the tourists. I'll tell you why. A few years after seeing that video, I saw it online. I made the mad decision to climb Ireland's highest mountain before it died, Carter Hill, and of all places, Killarney. Looking back, it's as well I did it then, as my rapidly declining spine has left me finding it difficult to climb the stairs at home presently. But I'm not going to whinge about it. I'm not going to whinge. I'm just going to let go. I'm a martyr. Anyway. Having somehow managed to summit the mountain in about 9 hours or whatever it was, we retired to the Killarney town for dinner. And we and my friends were walking back to our hotel when I just happened to glance into the courtyard of a passing bar. We were just passing by. And who did I see sitting at a table by himself in the courtyard? It was King Sham. Oh, I was starstruck. I have to say, I was starstruck. What could you do? I had to go over. I said hello and I shook his hand. But for obvious reasons, I did not converse. You can understand. Instead, I did the decent thing. I went into the pub and left a pint behind the bar for the man. Now, the knowing look on the publican's face as I paid for this beverage informed me immediately, right, that this was not an uncommon occurrence. And that Sham the man had long since discovered that sitting outside the bar in clear view of passing tourists had its benefits. Why not? Why shouldn't I? Why should fair play to the man? Fair play to him. If Charlie can get free whiskey in Belfast, Sham should be allowed to get a free pint in Killarney. Lovely wee man. Now, I wouldn't want them making an emergency phone call for me. I'll say, no, let's be realistic here. I wouldn't, if I have a heart attack now, I would not fancy Sham to be in the phone trying to get the ambulance. That's just being realistic here. But lovely wee man. Hope he's still in the go. You'll do nothing. You hear me? You'll do nothing.